Hello, everybody. So we will wait for another 2 minutes to start. Um, Very excited to have Cliff with me.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Sammy.
And hello from Stockholm. It's snowing currently.
Oh man, we don't have any of that yet here.
And I think most likely we're going to have a white Christmas.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, we are looking at the low to mid 40s here in New Jersey.
Okay. Okay, great. I think we are ready to start. So welcome everyone to our cutting edge webinar, Mastering the New Generation of B2B Forecasting. Today we're going to dive into transformative world of business forecasting. And it's interesting because the traditional word of business forecasting is really meeting innovative technology. Cliff and I will explore how the latest trends and tools are reshaping the way we forecast. Things changed a lot recently. A lot of breakthroughs in technology, in AI, in revenue intelligence, etc. That completely reshaped the way we look at the forecasting. So first, hi Cliff. So Cliff is the CRO of Carabiner Group, one of the leaders in RevOps as a service. I've met Cleve in the US, and since we've met, we discuss a lot about this topic. So very excited to have Cliff and his experience and to share his experience with you. So Cliff, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Cliff Simon. Like Sammy said, I'm the CRO at Carabiner Group. We are the leading RevOps as a service agency. I've come from a background mostly of mid-market enterprise selling, a variety of industries over the last almost 20 years now, and gotten to see a lot of different things, especially from where I sit at Carabiner. We get to help many companies with these issues over and over again. So having seen those iterations has helped inform a lot of my opinions, as well as just having to run sales and marketing and revenue in general at the companies that I've been at for the last few years.
Fantastic. So I present myself, Sami. I'm the CEO of ValueOrbit and founder of ValueOrbit. And I've spent, I think I have 20 plus years. I should not count the plus, but 20 plus years in revenue operations and sales experience. So I've been leading, before ValueOrbit, I've been leading sales strategy and operations. So leading the forecasting for Salesforce in the Nordics. And before that, leading also the consultative sales at Oracle for the telecom side. So suffered a lot from forecasting and built ValueOrbit to solve this problem. So very excited to walk you through. So in this session is designed to provide you with valuable insights and strategies and independently from your maturity level. So we're going to cover from the first maturity to the second one. So let's move to the second slide, the introduction. So I've been looking at the post from Jacko, and we now operate, at least in SaaS, at half of the growth rate. So it's quite dramatic. And within this context, 67% of organizations lack formalized approach to forecasting. So forecasting is still in the ad hoc stage, in its infancy. On the other side, 70% of sales leaders do not have high confidence in the organization forecasting, according to Gartner. So we still it's still a guesswork. It's still not trusted by the organizations. And the issue this year is that, and the consequences of one of the consequences is only 18% of sales reps are hitting 70% of quota. So Cliff, do you see this with your customers, with the prospects you talk about?
Yeah, all the time. It's been a difficult year for a lot of folks, and I think as we all look at 2024, what are the things that we have the ability to adjust to make right? Uh, 18% of sales reps only hitting 70% plus a quota is really tough, right? You're talking about like the Pareto's law of Pareto's law, right? You're not talking about that top 20%. It's like that top 4% is what's getting you there. Um, how do you right size that with an organization? How do you make sure that you're driving enablement appropriately? Um, there's so many pieces that end up affecting forecast um, that we need to touch as leaders. And there's a whole other side of this too, where we need to make sure we're educating and driving that knowledge through to the board and to the investors.
Exactly. I think the issue of forecasting is that it's really tight, is coupled with all the processes of the go-to-market. So it cannot be fixed until we fix the execution the way we go to market in a way. So
yeah, forecasting is a result, right? You can't change a result without changing behaviors.
Exactly. I fully agree. So Cliff, if you can walk us through what is forecasting for the stakeholders, for the revenue stakeholders, because we look at it in a different way depending on our role in the organization.
Sure. Well, when you're that board member, gosh, you're 3,000 miles away sometimes. You just care about the numbers, right? What's the EBITDA of my business? What's our burn rate? How close are we to a rule of 40? For healthy, how close are we to a rule of 60? I don't really care about anything else, right? I don't have a necessarily like vested interest other than what I think is right on paper. So I think that's very different than the CEO, who may have a very personal tie to the business and is not just caring about the commercial outcomes, but has a significant care for the human side of it. And there's a very tenuous relationship that's going on between those two folks right now. Between the board, between CEOs and then CROs as well, because it's not been a good year for many folks. Right? If you're growing this year, I think most people are giving you a pass, but everything is still being scrutinized because you have to understand where the next dollar is coming from, and are you adjusting to the burn rate? There's just so much there.
Exactly. So as in fact, the CEO is mainly looking at the in fact the results of the year and how it's aligned with the shareholders' expectations, and also on the strategic planning, is that what should the company, what are the strategic orientation, how can we mitigate the risks, etc. On the CRO, it's mainly performance and resources optimization. So now I think the CROs are faced with this issue of that we need to do more with less. Doing more with less is that if you forecast accurately, if you know exactly what are the deals that are going to close, then you can really assign all your resources to it. So it's a resources optimization, and also how to enable your team to reach the target. I think from a sales manager, they look at it as a team performance. So all these forecast goals are mainly to discover the gaps compared to the quota and see how the manager can really help the sales team to achieve the quota. On the sales rep, it's mainly the target achievement. So the sales rep will look at the forecasting, is that am I going to make my quota or not? What will be my variable, in fact? Mm-hmm. And so it's a survival mode. And if you can develop a little bit on the RevOps, on the operational efficiency, Cliff?
Yeah, with RevOps, the idea is that you're able to finally take all that information, that good data governance that was put in place, the right processes, and you can show the team where they're more likely to win, right? Now you have that information, you should be able to forecast better if you can understand the behavioral patterns in what causes you to win with a client, right? What is that customer journey? How does the go-to-market process align to that customer journey? And then what are the data points that you can correlate against it? So as I move new customers through the front half of the bow tie, we're able to articulate that in a way that says, "Oh, with 90% confidence, this customer should be closed won within 40 days. Or, we want to be able to have that level of confidence, knowing we're talking to the right stakeholders at the right time with the right messaging, and that we've gotten value alignment. One thing I wanted to go back to when you were talking about the CRO piece, I think we've all heard we've got to do more with less. I think that's a misguided notion that a lot of C-suite folks just have in their head, that this is the way we have to do it. I think we have to do less, and we have to do the things that matter the most. We have to simplify, focus in, and do the one or two things that we're really good at. All right. I think too many companies right now are trying to be everything and become these alpha players, or they're trying to consistently find new feature sets to be able to widen their ICP. Focus on the things that you're really good at and make sure you are the best in your space. And I think that's got a much faster path to success than trying to do all these other things that may not pan out. And then you've wasted resources again in a time where we are all resource constrained.
I fully agree. So now I'm going to present, I call it the Maslow hierarchy of forecasting.
I love this.
So from food to housing to love to, we start with the first level is ad hoc, and 67% of companies are in the ad hoc. The second level is CRM based. The third is with human judgment, and we will walk you through. I'm very happy I've done this at Salesforce, and it was very successful on the human judgment side. Then the fourth is trend based, and the fifth is predictive. Quite exciting. So let's go step by step. Ad hoc, and this is give you 30% of accuracy around. And what it means is that in the process, you don't have any process. You're using top-down forecasting or bottom-up, but you do it in an ad hoc way. So I need a reporting to my management, and then I ask for it. The tools are basic usage of the CRM data or spreadsheets. The analysis is you do it on a monthly basis or upon request. And the governance is really ad hoc. Cliff, any comment on the ad hoc side?
I'm shocked that the number is as high as 67%.
Yeah.
I find that incredible given the amount of tools and capability that exists today. So that's one thing that sticks out for me.
I think at least most of we're not talking about the small kind of startups, but even the Series A, Series B, most of them are in the ad hoc forecasting. So but this I think needs to be changed, and this is the value of this webinar. Now we move to the CRM based, and the CRM based make a jump in accuracy from 30% to 60%. So I invite all of you, if you're not doing this, please do it. And what it is that you define your stages, your exit criteria, even if they're not probably 100% clear. You identify your forecast categories. If you do best case, commit. So for people that does not know, commit means that you're sure the 90% that you're going to close. Best case is probably around the 50%. And then you drive, you link the stages to the forecast categories, or you do it separately. And you just retrieve the deals and say, this one I commit to, this one is best case, this one I leave it in the pipeline. Now, the third part is the attributes. So I can forecast by region, by product, by industry. So I can add more attributes to my deal. And third is the deal bands. This was extremely successful. I think the best sales leaders I've seen are the ones that are good into forecasting by deal bands. So what is the run rate? What is they call it the middle or the middle fat, and what are the large deals? And this is really will allow you to split the risk into three. and to have a better control over your forecast. And the fifth is just a combination of all these, just to do multidimensional forecasting. So please, if you're not there, I think we don't have the choice. That's the time to go toward this. It's a journey. Probably it will take you between a month and 3 months to put it in place, but it's really worth it, and it will drive the cadence and allow you to have a better clarity on your future. Cliff, any comment on this?
So going into it, I would say I think more folks would have fallen in this particular area, just given the amount of tools that we have and the fact that everyone, for the most part, lives out of an actual CRM. But I guess on the other side, I'm not surprised. One of the first things that we end up having to deal with when we go into most companies is making sure that they have actually set their entry and exit criteria across lead stages, then across sales stages. And if you don't have conversion rates that are true to your actual data, it becomes really difficult to do anything that's data-driven, including forecasting.
Exactly.
So I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but anecdotally, I am a little.
We fully agree. So this is the piece that I think that once you establish the CRM based and you fixed it, and Cliff and I will be happy to discuss this with you, then you move to the human judgment. It's easy to do, but difficult to maintain, to admin, because most CRMs don't have these capabilities. So human judgment is, it means that at any level of the hierarchy, you need to define, kind of evaluate the deals. So it can be the forecast categories as a sales rep. So it means commit, best case, pipeline. But you go to the manager, you reevaluate the same deals, and it will be most likely, you can set up the human judgment you want. And this is really drives the accountability of the team and also the accountability of the management. I've done a study when I started ValueOrbit, and out of the 20 hyper-growth companies, I think there are 17 that are doing the human judgment. And by the way, this is what gave me the idea of ValueOrbit in the beginning, because in the beginning it was automating the human judgment on top of Salesforce and HubSpot. And this is really adds a lot of value. And most of the companies are not using it, and the ones that are using it now are just they do it on Google Sheets or Excel. They just extract the data and add additional, but it's very efficient. Cliff, have you seen a lot of companies doing human judgment?
There are a good amount of companies doing human judgment today, right? We're rolling things up into, like, to your point, right? A regional forecast call that's coming up from the sales reps to the first line managers. First line managers are carrying that up to a VP of sales or a CRO. That data is being then verified and tracked by a RevOps team, and then we're doing dashboarding and some type of BI tool that's being shared globally. I would say with the customers that we're working with, this is probably like the upper 25%. Most of them, that if they're doing stuff at this level post Series C.
Good. And I think when you do this part, it means that most of the companies are quite advanced into the cadence of the forecasting. We haven't talked about this. It's extremely important to have a weekly cadence and to have a tight governance into how you build up your forecast from the ground to the CEO. I independently from the size of your company, I recommend that you really set up the governance, and the best is to start with the sales reps going to the managers, senior managers, etc. And in some of the enterprise companies I've worked with, the forecasting cadence is every day, but they do it a day by level. So Monday starts on Monday, it closes at the CEO on Friday. That's the part that I think is extremely important. Now, let's move to the trend-based. This is this is my favorite part. And this does not mean that you have to do the human judgment to get to the trend base. You can go to the trend base right away. And what I mean by that is that you add at least a qualification. So it can be a sales or qualification methodology, but I recommend the qualification methodologies. And the leader now is MedPick. Now Spiced, Winning by Design came with the Spiced methodology that is picking has been picking in the last probably 2 years. So it's very important to define the methodologies to qualify the deals or to execute the deals, mostly qualify the deals, and then to have a deal inspection. And now the tools are also managing the activities. So they will define for any deal what are the relationship with the buyer personas, how many connections you have, how do you qualify them in your methodology, or how do you name them in your methodology, and what are the number of emails, of meetings that you have, of documents that you share. Now the fourth part is the risk assessment and analysis, and a lot of tools now are defining the risks, and also the pace, the velocity. So you see the risk by deal, and you can see the risk also aggregated by account. But on the pace side, you try to see how your deals are progressing in the pipeline, and if you have a deal that is behind in a certain type, then you ring the bell. So these trend-based forecasting are extremely important, and I think the new trends is that these data are taken into consideration in the total forecasting. Cliff, how about the trend-based, based on your experience? Have you how kind of frequent is in terms of kind of what are the companies now? Are there a lot of companies using trend-based, and which part is more important than the other, according to you?
I would say there's a handful. Not a ton of folks that we work with are even at this level of maturity. There might have some type of methodology that's been built into CRM that they're using from a qualification perspective, and how, using that to move deals forward and weighting forecasts against it. If you're using a methodology like that, deal inspection is a part of the normal operating cadence. Same thing with the activity side. I don't know if they're necessarily diving in as deep on risk assessment as most companies would want to, whether that's good or bad is, I guess, immaterial. But I imagine most folks have been diving into that more and more and more this year, with the way things have been, with the need to understand where the dollar is coming from. Pipeline velocity is something that I think a lot of folks are looking at. I've got a handful of customers that we're doing a ton of data work for right now, and one of them, pipeline velocity slowed down by over 600% quarter over quarter from Q2 to Q3. It's like really big signals that things are going wrong. And as soon as you start seeing that trend line, what are you going to do to fix it? How do you drive that? Right? Because you still have to hit your number somehow. But those are all great things to be keeping in mind. But again, I don't know a lot of folks that are doing all of these pieces. Feels like most of them that are playing in this field are getting 3 out of the 5, I would say. The other thing I would mention here is that if they're doing these, I don't know if they're getting anything close to 80% accuracy on forecast. But that might be far more about the fact that these are enterprise customers, right? They're selling enterprise level solutions where 1 or 2 deals not closing or closing makes that number go from 50% to 120, right? So
yeah, I agree. It's great input, great insight. Now, I think the highest level of forecast maturity is the predictive forecasting, and there is a revolution on this side. So basically, the idea is to take the CRM-based elements, so stages, categories, etc., the human judgments, and the trend-based. So all these maturity levels, if they are automated, they in fact allow the company to have a good um, data that will can be analyzed with AI model, regression models, classification, deep learning, and now there is also another revolution, which is the large language models, um, and I think OpenAI has been leading. Now Google is keep up with the latest
Gemini.
model, with Gemini. And the idea is that combining all these elements has opened the door for a new era in sales. And the new era includes the predictions, but also the guidance. So in fact, what we're seeing is that forecasting is not only about numbers, but forecasting is about identifying the risks and identifying the win and loss patterns and knowing exactly what to do to prevent the loss and also to win. So it became more into go-to-market coaching and guidance rather than only predictions of numbers. And I'll give some examples. Is that you can analyze all the data, as I said, CRM data plus the CRM based, etc., etc. You can know exactly how your prospect is close to the ICP. You know exactly if you're automating the qualification, you will know exactly what you have to do next to increase the probability of the win or of the loss. You will know exactly what are the priorities of the deals that you have to work on. You will know exactly if you have enough stakeholders or not for your deals and what kind of stakeholders you can bring to the table. You will know exactly what are the next engagement and also how to be able to translate the buyer signals with sentiment analysis, etc. So it's a new era, and this is exactly what ValueOrbit does. In fact, we built it on all these elements, and quite excited. It's just the beginning of the journey. Uh, I think a lot to come from the date I started ValueOrbit. Things have changed completely in the AI world. Now it's easier to create models out of existing models, to train models, to connect to large language models. And I think that the secret is into automating the right layers of data, bringing the right layers of data to achieve the predictability. And I've been always skeptical about some of the companies that are claiming that from the beginning of the quarter they're able to predict the forecast by 95%, because what it means is that there is no way to improve the forecast. So when I started to use this data in my previous experiences, my output was that I don't need to know what I'm going to reach as a number as much as I need to know what I need to improve to beat that number and achieve 30-40% improvement. So what are the deals? Uh, and Cliff, please comment on this.
It's interesting because we've been using AI internally to help do forecasting for about a year, and it's been fairly accurate. And I've got friends that use some really big name forecasting tools, but they still don't trust it. There's an AI component there, and the AI component is usually more than 20% off in any given month, um, where they're going back to the tried and true of the human piece, right? I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to figure out what your gut feeling on this is, and then I'm going to try my best to look at the qualitative data of how many touch points have happened at the certain point in the sales cycle. Do we have the appropriate personas involved based off of what we know, right? Do I have my 7.1 people as part of this deal? And they're making their judgments off of that because they don't trust where the AI is. I think we're getting a lot closer. I talk to my friends at Open. I talk to my friends over at like Invisible, and the things I'm hearing are pretty darn cool as far as where the models are going. And I think you're really spot on with, we have to be looking at a deeper level of data. It can't just be large language models, right? A lot of what we're ingesting, yes, is based off of that, but so much of the data is not language, right?
No.
It's all of the metadata that makes
Yes.
it come together, right? How do you access all of that that's sitting in your Snowflake instance or wherever it is that you store product data alongside customer data, alongside go-to-market data, right? Yeah, and you have to be able to mold all of those together. I think we're probably still a couple years away from this getting there. I would love to have prescriptive forecasting. To your point, like these are the things you need to work on to get your forecast better, instead of necessarily like a predictive model where this is what you're going to get. Because we're humans. We build things that fail a lot. And if we start trusting them entirely before those things are ready, we're going to be in trouble.
Exactly. So thank you all. We tried to keep the time of half an hour. I hope that you've learned out of this webinar on the different levels of maturity. And I hope that you started your journey or you're in the middle of your journey to improve your forecasting. And as we said, as I think Cliff concluded, the prescriptive side of the forecasting can be sometimes more interesting than the predictive side of the forecasting. So we wish you happy holidays. I think this is the last webinar in this series before the end of the year. And thank you, Cliff.
Yeah, thanks, Sami.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a Merry Christmas, bud. Bye.
You too. Thanks.